She didn't build a lifestyle business. She built a trust business. Jen Boyle is the founder of More Lifestyle Management, created for people whose lives have outgrown their time. What started in Denver in 2012 grew into a national operation across cities like Miami, Scottsdale, Dallas, and Seattle, offering personal assistance, household management, concierge services, and event planning. But at its core, this isn't about errands or diaries. It's about responsibility, access, discretion. The quiet weight of being trusted with the moving parts of someone else's life. Jen works behind the scenes of high-performing people, removing friction so they can focus on what matters now. Over time, has shaped not just a business, but a way of seeing leadership, pressure, boundaries, and what success actually costs. More isn't about doing more things. It's about creating space for a better life. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So grateful to be here.
And
Thank you for that great
from
intro.
The West Coast, right?
West Coast, and I consider Colorado the Midwest.
Wait, a lot of my audience are from the UK. You're far side of America. We're good.
Yes, I'm far.
Far enough to be in an awful time zone for us to be talking. So I'm very grateful that you've managed to make time for us this morning. Great to be here.
Yes, no, thank you.
So getting into the meat of it then, Jen, when you think back to being a kid, how would you have described yourself to somebody looking in?
As a kid, I was just fun. I just had fun. I had the biggest dreams. I played all the sports. And honestly, probably had no concept of really what life was. It's just having fun. But I am completely different now compared to when I was as a kid. Like, no shot. If you saw me as a kid, did I grow up being who I am right now, having the company that I have right now? No shot.
So not organized then?
Not organized. My mom was crazy, OCD, organized, perfectionist, which, yes, now I have that. But no, I was the girl that would shove her stuff underneath the bed. I would throw the stuff in the closet and close the doors. Like, all I cared about was my time of playing sports and having fun and hanging out with my friends. I did not care to have a clean room.
What sports were you talking? When you say all sports, what is that in the US?
So played basketball. I grew up in a basketball family, so you're pretty much forced to. And then God made me 5'5" and weigh nothing, so didn't go far in that. And then I ran track, played golf, played softball. Played a lot.
Well, the advice I keep seeing back when my son goes to his football coaching from the good ball coaches is their advice is just to play every sport you can because it all develops into one roundness, I guess. Like the experience all adds together and creates something better than the sum. So it seems like you did that.
No, I totally agree. I think sports really build your foundational mind frame of pushing yourself to the limit, but also seeing how strong you can be and to become a good leader and to become a good teammate.
So do you think you rebelled against what your mum held dearest then? If you're describing your mum as being the OCD, clean, organized person, is that what you were really trying to get away from?
Yeah, %. That's what you do as a kid. You definitely tried not to be like your parents, or at least I did. And then you grow up and you realize they're pretty smart.
Well, it's taking it all in, right? That's taking it all in.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, first I wanted to be my own person. And then you're like, I think both parents had something going that I could pull from. So
tell me about childhood then. Like, what were your parents doing? What were their jobs? What was fueling you to be who you are now?
Yeah, so growing up, like until I was maybe 9 or 10, my mom was a surgical ER nurse. So she worked. I went to school before school when it was dark out, and then I came home when it was dark out. She was nonstop. And then my dad, he started a couple different companies, and then so he had that entrepreneur mind frame. And then he started his own financial advising firm. And then my mom pretty much retired because she wanted to spend time with me and my younger brother. Yeah, at age 9 or 10. So I really saw what it takes in a family unit and how there isn't a lot of time and you have to prioritize. And I know my mom sacrificed to take care of us, but to take care of my dad, to run the household, to make sure I got to all of my sporting events and that she was present. So yeah, I really got to see what taking care of a home, a lifestyle, a family, a foundation from my mom. And then I got to see from my dad how to be an entrepreneur and yeah, what you have to work to set up that career so so you can provide for your family.
Sounds like an inspiring circumstance for growing up. But what did you want to be? What was your aspirations at that age, Jen? What spaceman?
Yeah,
Spacewoman?
I don't even think. I mean, I'm from South Dakota, so, not a huge town. Like, I probably picked the normal jobs, like a teacher, a doctor, or whatever. But the only thing I really remember from childhood was that it was never enough for me. South Dakota was never enough. Great people, great foundation, morals, and values, but I wanted more. Like, that's all I've ever wanted was like, how much more can I do in life? And yeah, I've been in Denver for 15 years and I'm like, that's not enough. I can keep growing. I want more. I want to see the world. I want to do so much with my life. And that's all I remember as a kid. Like school, hated it, thought it was pointless, still do. So I just wanted to hurry my life up, get through school so I could actually do whatever I wanted in life.
So what did you start out with then? When Jen left school, what did you get involved in?
When I left school, Uh, I went to, it was definitely a corporate gym. I went to school for business and personal like health. So I did personal training in Seattle. Not a great start to my career, but taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Denver since my dad's whole family grew up in Colorado. It was always a second home. But yeah, it's like you have to try so many different jobs, careers to figure out, ooh, they're a good boss. Ooh, I wouldn't want to lead like that. You have to figure out what you like, what you hate to really find what is your niche, what is your value purpose on.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. Having spent 15 years in retail, I always tell people that was 8 years too long, right? Like I was ready to move on after 7, but I would never discourage my kids from getting a job in retail. Not because it's the most glamorous or exciting job in the world, but because there's a lot of opportunities to learn lots of different skills and figure yourself out. And I think that's what I took away from retail was definitely that. What I did want to do, the bits I hated, the bits I loved, different styles of management. And I think there's a lot of jobs out there that are very similar. There are jobs where you're put under pressure, where you learn there's no other option but to sink or swim. And that's part of how that door opens for you. We talk on this show a lot about being courageous enough to walk through the door when it's open for you to see what's on the other side and where you're meant to be.
Yeah, and to know when the time is to be done with that job or that career. Like you have to be very intentional about your choices, and you wouldn't learn that unless, you went through all the struggles. My first job was horrible out of college, but man, did it teach me a lot. It taught me exactly the leader that I want to be.
I didn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. And that's something I see quite a lot in common from the guests that we have on the show is that they're all very aware of the journey that they've been on. And rather than framing things as a horrible negative experience, which I mean, they probably weren't fun to go through, but you're able to take the learnings from that. And I think that's what successful people do over and over again is in any given situation, positive or negative, you're able to see something come of it that benefits you and turn it into the situation you want it to be. What was your favorite job before you got where you are now? What was the most fun job, I guess, that you went through before you got to start your own business?
The most fun job, oh gosh. I worked for Grey Goose and Bacardi when I moved to Denver. I was the fun girl serving drinks, whatnot. Very good at it. But I got to run all the golf tournaments like for Grey Goose. So I would set up the stand, I would bring the girls in, and then it was just about meeting all of the CEOs, the athletes, the executives that would come out for those tournaments. So I used that as it is very important who you surround yourself with. I knew I didn't want to be in alcohol the rest of my life or do something like that for the rest of my life. So I just took it as an opportunity of, I don't know why I'm meeting these people, but I'm blessed enough to be around this crowd. And I just started taking their contacts, knowing that someday I would have an idea and I would reach out to all of them. So I had a lot of fun in that. I probably did that for 7 years before I even started my company, maybe 6, I don't know, but it taught me a lot. I'm always a social person, but it taught me to be intentional about being social.
And I think that, again, like we talk about learnings from things, and a lot of people could see that as being a very frustrating role. Oh, I'm just the person that serves the drinks, or I'm just the person that I'm just this, or I'm just that. And instead, you've chosen to view that with a really positive mindset and framing, which is why you are where you are now. And I see that a lot. This open-mindedness leads to a lot of opportunity, and it helps open a lot of doors. So kudos for doing that.
Yeah. And how you look at life. It is your choice of how you look at life in every situation. So, yeah, if you want to look at it as like, another day of getting hit on and serving drinks, or if you want to turn that into a positive, like everything is a choice.
What was the moment where you realized you needed to move on to something else?
I probably did get burned out of just that life of showing up to, I don't know. But when I think back of it, I wish I didn't get burned out, because what an easy life that was.
You can't appreciate that at the time, can you?
No, I got burnt out where I was, but it was so easy. Clock in, clock out, set up the table, shake some hands, make some friends, and you're done. But that's fine. There's a season for everything in your life. So you just got to keep forging ahead.
I think easy gets boring after a while, though. That's the challenge for a lot of people. Easy, whilst we might think that's what we want in the short term, we can do it for a short period of time, but it's not enough. We want more, right, Jen?
Yes, exactly. I wasn't being challenged there, so.
So what did burned out look like for you then? What were you thinking, feeling, seeing in yourself?
Just knowing that I had to make a change. Like, your intuition and your gut are so powerful, and you have to listen to it. So I think I just felt it. And then I just started writing down there are things like that maybe I could start my own business on, because again, I had an entrepreneur dad, and then I also had a great friend and client down here when I moved down here, and he was huge in oil and natural gas, and he started like 5 or 6 of those companies. So I had 2 very strong men leaders that were very entrepreneur mind framed. So I knew I was always going to do something of my own, but I don't think it really connected until I started sitting down with all of those contacts that I made from the golf tournaments, where I saw that commonality of no one having enough time, everyone overwhelmed and stressed. Like, none of my ideas that I wrote down on paper to start my own business were that. So that was kind of a God moment and a in your face of, you can fix this.
I love that. And so, like, all this time, is Dad kind of whispering in your ear? Are you having phone calls with Dad, asking, bouncing ideas backwards and forwards, or is this all Jen just kind of hearing your dad in your head kind of thing and just steamroller in your own path? How does it work? Special shout out in today's episode for our charity partners, ADHD Liberty, led by Sarah Templeton, who are part of the fight to prevent the school to prison pipeline for ADHD and neurodiverse individuals. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit them. The show links are in the notes below, and I would encourage you to go along and have a look and educate yourself on their fight. It's an incredibly important cause, and we're super proud to have them as charity partners for the MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very close with my dad and my mom. They're always supportive. I don't think I've necessarily talked about ideas. I think it was just like, no, I need to figure it out. And then I did. But I only did when I started sitting down with all of those people. So,
But I think that's testament to the faith that you were brought up with in yourself, right? And I've always said this to my mom, and she doesn't believe me. We lost my dad 3 years ago, and I kind of talked to her a lot about wouldn't be where I am now if you guys didn't constantly tell me you can be anything you want to be and show me how to be positive role models. Like I would have made different choices and I wouldn't be where I am now. So whilst I've made my own decisions, I made my own luck to an extent, it's because I didn't come with any baggage that allowed me to do that and be open-minded to what's possible.
or any fear, in any fear. Like I do think when your parents tell you can do anything and be anything, that is so powerful. And I'll never forget that. But I'll also never forget when I have kids one day to tell them that, because if you feel like you have just the best foundation where you can try things and fail, whew, that's what you need to be great. Like that, you need that if you're going to do anything great. Because guess how many times you're going to fail if you're going to do something great? You're going to fail a lot. They might be micro fails, but you have to get used to that. And you have to know that you can fall on a safe foundation. It's always going to be there.
Do you
So,
think that's how businesses should be run as well, though, in terms of you shouldn't be afraid to try things and fail because that's what breeds innovation, right?
yes, absolutely. It's beyond important. And that's what you have to, it's hard to get into an employee's mind on that level, because they do think very differently from an owner, from a leader. But all you can do is talk and preach that and hope that just little slivers.
So talk me through client number one. What happened? Because I'm assuming the client appeared before the business did, and it just kind of rolled from there, right? Am I guessing?
Yeah, one client and then it took off. What I was sitting down. So I was sitting down and just talking. Like I would just take guys to lunch. And it was mostly men, because back when I started, women were finally just becoming entrepreneurs or more in the corporate world. And we're still very far behind, but we'll get there. So it was mostly men that I was sitting down with. But I met with this guy and he owned a pretty big franchising company. And he had a scratch on his wood floor, and nobody wanted to come and fix that because it's not worth a company's time or money to fix a scratch. But he had 11 phone calls during our hour lunch meeting. So selfishly, I'm annoyed that I didn't get his time. But then on principle base, I was bothered that this was a thing, that people didn't actually want to help people, even if it was a small job. So we were kind of walking out and I said, hey, why don't you give me your keys and I'm going to go fix this scratch for you. And then I went up and I got that done. But I noticed how unorganized his household was, on a level where I knew how structured his brain was on processes and systems. That's the only way he became so successful in his company. So I thought, I need to systemize this house so then he is not overwhelmed coming home and just trying to work. Like the household, the lifestyle, and the business, that should all have the same processes and structures if you want to have a good life, like a lower stress life, a happier life, a time for you to spend with your partner, going on date night, time to go watch your kids' soccer practice or go on vacation. It all has to have systems and procedures. So
We had a guest on the show not so long back, Michael Alosso, came back on for a second appearance, and Michael talks about Act 1 and Act 2. So Michael's ex-theatre production, right? He's a wonderful gentleman. And he talks about how you need to have the same authenticity through Act 1 and Act 2. Act 2 being your home life, with Act 1 being your work life, right? And you need to align the two together, because you can't be authentic and be a totally different person at home than you are at work. And it's finding that balance of the two, maybe a little bit off box one and a little bit more on box two. But that, it just strikes me as being something that aligns perfectly with what you've just said there. Is like, how can you go to work and be a super organized person, expect everything to be super organized? And that's what really makes you happy, because otherwise you wouldn't do what you do. Everything has to have a process. And then to come home and find all that broken, cognitive dissonance, the brain hurt that would come with walking into disorganized mess and not being the way you'd like it to be, and just accepting that has to be the way it is, because I don't have enough hours in the day, right?
Yep. Yeah. And you're only going to prioritize, what you can. Oops. So,
Focus mode.
Yeah, I know, right? Struggling here.
How do you have a conversation with someone and tell them that their house is disorganized without making them feel like idiots, right? Because there's got to be a way of doing that.
Yeah, honestly, it just comes from compassion, from love, from care. Like, I have the same struggles. I have the same amount of time and day that everybody else has. So if I struggle on not having enough time on the home front, then I can relate. I can be on the same page as another household. Yes, I might not have kids. I might not have a partner. I might not have any of that, but my life is beyond full with my clients and my business, and then my own family and travel and whatnot. So it's relatability, it's compassion, it's understanding that the more great things you do in life, the more successful that you become, the more pressure, actually, the less time you have, because everybody wants a little bit of your time. The more love you get, but the more hate you get. So if I receive all of that on where I'm at, my clientele is receiving that tenfold. So you have to relate, you have to come from love. And then it's just about using my intuition, but also the 12 years of business to understand we're all people. We all really have the same problems.
Yeah.
So
no matter how many zeros are on your bank balance, somebody's got to change the baby's diaper, right?
yes.
That's the way it rolls. I love it. And so from there, it flourished out into a full business, right? Is there anything that you don't do?
There's almost nothing. Oh, yeah. No, I think after like month one, we had 2 other clients, and then it was just organically word of mouth. But yeah, why, if you set up a home and lifestyle management business, why would we have to say no to anything? It's about building a community and partnerships and vendors, and then training my employees to be able to do anything and everything if it's under our license. So, yeah.
What's the most important values that you have as a business owner for your client?
Important values, honestly, I think, yes, coming from love, coming from compassion, and teaching my employees that. So they were just people, and I think them understanding that they're safe and we understand what they're going for, and that we're not going to say anything about them. They're beyond safe with us because they're just another human. So teaching my team that, but making sure that a client feels that and a value is so important, and making sure that client feels at that time that we're talking to them or that we're at their house, that they're our only client at that moment. You have to prioritize them, and they have to feel like they're one of us. But yeah, just growing with that clientele and having a good foundation.
I almost feel as though your role must be quite strange at times, because I'd imagine you've got some amazing stories that you could share where you're not bound to confidentiality, and it must be quite frustrating not to be able to, like, because I know when I finish work, I want to get that off my chest a bit, and this client did this and that client did that, and this email said these things, and wow, isn't this fun or isn't this hard or whatever. To a certain extent, you can't really do that, right?
No, I run a lot. Okay. I run out all my stress every day. So thank God for exercise. But I think that's also why there's so many people that want to work in my industry and work for me, because my industry for so many years, especially overseas, where you're at, it's been around. Property management, home management, estate management, like that's been around longer overseas versus the United States. In the United States, it's still more of a newer term, but there's a lot of personal assistants. So like one-off home managers or personal assistants. And what there is that team, is that support where, yes, they can call one of their managers. Like my home managers have executive managers, and they can call their teammate or they can call their executive and say, I was just in this situation, like it really bummed me out. Here's how I handled it. Do you think I did everything the right way? Should I do something different? But they're able to bounce things off one another and relate and say, oh, I just went through that myself, blah, blah, blah. So when you build a team, when you build a company in this type of industry, it is way more supportive and way more teamed back, where a lot of people just don't have that. And like you said, it is very needed. It is very needed.
Employees, because I'd imagine, but I'm going to throw a wild guess out. Whilst there are some people who are already doing what you do and who might come and join your company, I would imagine you find a lot of rough diamonds as well.
Yeah, I feel grateful for where I'm at in business. It's been a lot of years, so most come to me now. But I think it is at the level that we're at as well. So no matter if it is a new city, if we had a client get traded and we have to go unpack them and set them up and then manage their house in a totally new market, I have vendors, I have friends, I have people in so many different places where I can call and use my connections to find a really good sourced person. But I do have tons and tons of people that just slide into my email saying, I want to work for you. I want to work for you. So I feel grateful that we've set a very good foundational company where people see the value and they do want to grow with us. But I do feel, I know if I wouldn't have set my company up as big as I have, that I wouldn't have those relationships in other cities where I could really rely on. But I find just amazing people that want to work for us, whether they're a mom and their kids have gone off to college and they understand how to run a household and how to prioritize time, but then they know how to look at that attention to detail, versus younger people as well. If they haven't had all of that experience, maybe they have the organizational experience, or maybe they have the communication level and the back end level that I need. I can teach everything in my company, and that's why I train them for 3 months, no matter if they've had experience or not. It can all be learned. It's all life skills. So
I love that. And something you touched on there is, did you plan it to scale the way it does? Was that something that you thought would happen from day one, or did it happen organically?
I never made a business plan. I never wrote anything down. I just kind of went with it. But no, I didn't see it going to as many cities and states as I'm in right now. But I think if you do a good job, that's why we've gotten referred. And if someone has a second or third house and we set it up in Colorado this way, they want their other houses set up with the same system, same procedures. So that's been very organic.
I've loved chatting with you this afternoon, Jen, or morning your time, sorry. If there's anything that you'd like to leave the audience with, what's that one thought?
I think the biggest thing, and why I wake up every day and my purpose of this business, is life is already hard. We don't have to make it harder. So there are choices of what you can make in life, and there are companies out there like mine, whether you use mine or ask questions or someone else's, but you can choose how you want to live your life. You can choose to ask for help, and there's so many amazing companies out there that want to add value and want to give you your time back. So
I love it. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today, Jen.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone at home for watching or listening along. As ever, if you have an idea for a guest, drop in the emails. I'm always happy to take introductions. And if you have an idea for a topic that you'd like us to cover as part of the show, again, feel free to drop us a message. I'll see you next week on MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.